Okay, thank you for joining us for Scaling Up from Home Gardening to Market Gardening. I'm Samantha Kemna, the Central New York educator with NOFA New York, and we'll be helping to make sure everything goes smoothly today. We also have Brooks Willahote from our certification team on for technical support. If you have specific tech questions, please feel free to send him those questions directly in the chat. As a reminder, please remain muted with your video off during the presentation. We've enabled closed captioning. These captions are auto-generated and not perfect, but if you'd like to see the captions, there should be a notification at the top of your screen enabling you to do that. This workshop is being recorded and will be shared on the conference website and the mobile app shortly after the end of the presentation. Feel free to introduce yourself or ask questions using the chat function. Questions can be held until the end of the presentation, but enter them into the chat so that they can be addressed during the presentation. NOFA New York's annual winter conference would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. NOFA New York would like to specifically thank our app sponsors, Hudson Valley Farm Hub and Honey Dog Farm. To learn more about these organizations and their work, please visit them in the marketplace or online. And now I'd like to pass it off to Jerry and Christy Winquist of Local Roots Farm, who can take it from here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christy. Jerry's going to be facilitating through your chat today. There he is, he's popping up. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull up our PowerPoint here. Is that coming up for you guys?
Not yet.
Not yet? All right, you let me know when it comes through. Anything?
I'm not seeing it as of yet. Let's see. If you go down to the share screen, is anything working for you there?
Through the Zoom?
Yes.
Share content. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm sorry about that. Oh. I'm trying to get our presentation to go ahead and share here. Brooks, I'm in the share tab of my Keynote here. How can I share it with you?
Yeah, so it should be, if you pull up that green tab, it should then give you the option to choose which desktop or which screen you would like to share. Are you seeing anything like that on your end?
I just clicked to share it to Zoom.
Okay, it should be on the very bottom where it's like a green tab and it says share screen, and then it should pull up the option to like choose which screen specifically.
I'm only seeing share content. Thank you guys for being patient while I'm trying to figure this out. We were just doing our little tech here, and I didn't anticipate this to.
Yeah, and if I need to,
yeah, I think you're gonna have to pop in, Brooks, and see if you can pull it up from my end.
Sure. Let me see.
Sorry about that, guys.
Here. All right.
I have a split screen on mine where all I have is my Keynote open and our Zoom call.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Can you see it?
No, I'm still seeing. I'm going to make you host and just see if that would work to give you kind of all the authority.
Usually that works on Zoom.
Thank you, guys. I'm trying to see if there's another place that I can save it. Or we could just pull it up, and it's not really working. How do we got, what is it looking like? Anything for you, Brooks?
No, I've given you the host capability at this point. And just on that bottom tab, if there's any way to just click that share screen, if it would give you any option to choose which one.
Tab.
Is it something that you could email to one of us quick and we could just share it from ours?
This is what it is, but if they don't see it, where'd you see that? Your share. And I did that and it's not working now. It didn't work. I'm sorry.
Hey, there we go.
Yay, it looks great.
Can you see it?
Yeah, perfect.
Beautiful. Okay. Awesome. Jerry said that what we needed was for Jerry to come in. And you know what? He's probably right. I've come to find that in order to have a good farm, it's always a good partnership. And I'm really lucky that jumping into this, I picked a really darn good partner. So on our very first slide here, what we've got is just a quick little view of what our farm stand used to look like in comparison to what we're bringing to the market now. We'll get a little bit more into detail about each one of our slides. Before we go any further, thanks, Brooks. Thanks, Samantha. I really appreciate your help.
Of course.
So right here, we've got a quick little introduction. My name is Christy Winquist. Again, thank you so much, you guys, for your patience as we were getting through our technical difficulties. My husband and my partner and the co-owner of our farm is going to be facilitating again through that chat with any questions. This first photo you're seeing on the left is myself, Jerry, and our son, Gordon. And to the right, it's just a nice little visual of what our farm stand looks like at market. So a quick little bit about our farm. Local Roots is a certified organic farm. We're located on Haudenosaunee territory in Burt, New York. We're in Niagara County. We're along Route 18, and we have a nice little microclimate set next to Lake Ontario. We're a 2.5 acre vegetable market garden. We have 3 greenhouses. This is our 6th season growing for markets and our 4th season growing as full-time growers. We are owned and operated primarily entirely just by Jerry and myself. We're the only owners, but last year we experimented with 2 part-time employees. We'll talk a little bit about that later. This year in 2023, Jerry and I were elected as directors for the board of directors at the Lockport Main Street Incorporated. This is a non-for-profit that serves our primary farmers market in Lockport, New York. Our current point of sales and previous point of sales include the farmers markets. We've done CSAs. We work with wholesale food distribution. There's a variety of restaurants and caterers that we provide to. We've created an online pre-order store on our website when we were experiencing fewer customers coming to the farmers market during the pandemic. This is a great alternative for us, something that we still use today. And we do provide some valued added products in the off season. Our annual sales range from $65,000 to $75,000, with the primary sales occurring from May 1st to December 1st. We accept cash and credit on our online store. And when we're in person at the market, we accept the FMNP checks, EBT, Double Up, Food Bucks, Fresh Connect checks. And when we're at the Lockport Community Market, they have specific market tokens where customers can swipe their debit and credit card and still shop with any vendor or farm that doesn't have a physical square or card reader. So part 1, what does scaling up mean? Essentially, scaling up often refers to an increase in your quantity or your yield produced. It's the amount of land you have in production, and an increase in your enterprises and markets. Scaling up can also refer to improving your current production systems in order to increase your sales. It's important to keep in mind that there is no one-size-fits-all approach when you decide to expand. There are many risks and challenges associated with scaling up. So this presentation is going to include some of our strategies, but ultimately your approach is going to depend on your existing resources and markets and how much risk you're really comfortable with. Thank you about the carrots. We put a lot of pride into them. And we're going to actually talk about that too. Okay. So some questions that you want to ask yourself. Oh, we didn't even talk about the beginnings of our garden. I'm so sorry. So some quick little beginnings about our garden. We started as a 20-foot by 50-foot garden in our backyard. So if you have land space on your farm, or lawn space rather, in your yard, that's what we started with. It's something that you could start with too. We were growing our own summertime vegetables. We really didn't know what we were doing, but we had a ton of them. We found ourselves asking the questions of how many zucchinis do we really need? How many cans of tomato sauce do we really need? And markets seemed like a nice way to spend our time on a Saturday. So really that's how our adventure, if you will, started. Some questions that you're going to want to ask yourself before you go ahead and even consider scaling up is, why would you want to expand? How will expanding change the quality of your life for both the better and the worse? We'll get into details of the sacrifices that come along with this later. How would you personally define what a successful business is to you? Everybody's farm is going to be different, and how you determine what your success is also going to be different. How invested do you really want to be in your farm? Are you planning on being full-time, or are you going to go part-time? It's really important to make sure that before you jump in head first, that you know that you're going to be able to support yourself and your family. Are you going to have to take on a part-time side job off the farm to supplement your income in your formative years? So, in regards to sales avenue and supports from the community, you want to think about what products and services that you're going to provide. Are you going to add any added value products? What kind of permits and licensings are going to be required if you decide to do any added value products? Or, for example, if you know you want to grow a bunch of tomatoes and make tomato sauce, what kind of licenses and permits are going to be required for you to take your product to market? Where do you plan on selling your market? Are you going to do direct sales like farmers markets? Are you planning on a farm storefront? CSA is an alternative. Online stores, restaurants, caterers, and food distribution. And you could even go up to a grocery store. And that's all of these avenues are also going to have dial back to that previous question as well. Make sure you're taking the time to find your niche and what you can bring to the table in your community. Know each one of these pros and cons too before moving forward. Taking time to research is really important. You could do this just by asking other vendors at markets that you attend. So in regards to your land and infrastructure, you want to ask and see, is there land available for you to use? Are you planning on owning yourself, or is leasing a better alternative for you and your operation? How much land is actually required to support your operations goals? Will you need acres upon acres, or are you already sitting on potential land right in your backyard? Does your front yard have space, for example? We'll get more into if your front yard is going to be a good idea or not, though. No matter what, it's very unlikely that you're going to walk onto a piece of land that is ready to roll for you. So ask yourself what the soil type is going to, or make sure you find out what the soil type is, discover what type of fertility it's going to require, and determine how much time and funds is going to be needed to amend the soil to support what you plan to do. Right. Further in regards to your land and infrastructure. So I had briefly mentioned how maybe that front yard might be a good idea. This is a section where that's going to kind of pertain to. Asking yourself not just what kind of land you're going to need, but perhaps is a hoop house something that's in your plans? Is a nursery something that you're going to need to help support your operation? Environmental considerations. So if that front yard's got a lot of space, do you have trees blocking it? Is there going to be enough sunlight to support what you want to grow? Watching your land and seeing how it reacts to stresses is really important. I can give you an example on our farm of how we went and could have totally avoided backbreaking work if we took the time to observe. Making sure that you take notes and observing, like where does water pool on your farm after heavy rainfall or snow melt? Again, keeping considerations for trees, perhaps cutting them down, working around them, it's up to you. See how your land reacts to these stresses before you go ahead and do anything permanent, making permanent choices. So you also want to look into your neighbors. Make sure that you're not taking them off. Work with your wildlife in your biosphere as well. Really, really massively important. Last night there was the Witness to Injustice. If you weren't able to attend that workshop, if you go underneath the presenters or even under agenda, you can find that, and there's information where you can reach out to the presenters of the Witness of Injustice. It's really important that each one of us takes the time to learn and respect the land that we're working with. If you've already been attending the NOFA conference, or you have in the past, you're no stranger to the stolen land that we've all purchased. If we've purchased, leased, or work on land, it's really important that we try to heal and remediate these relationships, especially not just with our land, but within our communities as well. So get to know where you're farming and start to form a reciprocal relationship with the land that you're tending. Act as a steward. So more land and infrastructure information. What types of infrastructure is going to be required? Are you going to need a nursery, greenhouse, hoop houses? When you have these things, do you plan on building them or hiring somebody to build for you? You're going to want to consider if there's a wait time for building materials, or how long of a, sorry, is there a wait time for your building materials? How long is the wait that's going to come with delivery, and what is the price going to be? Keep into mind what kind of crop handling equipment you might need. If you're planning on using acres upon acres, you may want to consider bringing in machines to help you out as opposed to hand harvesting. How will your post-harvest situations be handled? What kind of wash station and storage will be required to support your needs? Will you need to build your own storage, or is there going to be some space already available for you? All right, so here's Jerry. And you notice Jerry's not on screen. He doesn't like to be. So on our farm, we have a joke where we cover Jerry's face with vegetables. In regards to business costs and initial investments, how much working capital is going to be required to start? Are there reasonable interest rates available for the loans that you may require to get your operation up and going? I would definitely recommend looking into grants, see what's available for you, and see if who could best be available to help you navigate through your process in regards to paperwork. Will you keep track of your financials personally, or are you going to hire an accountant? What kind of licenses, again, and insurance is going to be required for your business and your potential employees? If you do intend to hire your employees, how many can you bring on? What's going to be a fair wage for them? Employees can be a really valuable asset to your farm in regards to not just production, but to creating relationships. It's always important to care and nurture for your employees, and they'll grow along with you as well. This is where you really want to sit with the idea, sit with all of your ideas and your goals, and ask yourself if this actually is a viable and sustainable venture for you. All right, so we're getting into our part 2 section here. So on the left is a nice little pile of we called this our December market basket. It was something we did in December, pretty similar to what one of our CSA baskets would look like. We have one of our added value products in the center there. That's one of the granolas we make, and some really pretty Chioggia beets. So insights and ideas for moving forward. It's great to gain information from folks who have already done it. If you don't come from a farming background like Jerry and I, we're first generation farmers. We did not grow up on a farm. For us, it was really great to make connections with other farmers in our small farm community. One thing that I did before I really dove headfirst into local roots was I worked part-time up the road from our farm at Singer Farm Naturals. I really got to see the ins and outs of seeing how a small family business is run, how an organic farm works in all 4 seasons. I learned lots of benefits in regards to sales and marketing, really just endless. Finding a mentor, I still can reach out to this mentor and ask questions when need be, and it's a priceless tool. We talked about remembering to observe before moving ahead. So observing how your land reacts to stress before committing to an idea can definitely save your back. We didn't take the time to observe where water pools when we decided to put our nursery in its location. We put it in a low-lying spot. It's a very wet area, so we had to work with that. And instead of taking the time ahead of time to observe where that water water lays, we had to put in ditches and culvert piping and drains, and it was a lot of digging that otherwise wouldn't have been required if we just moved where we were going to put our nursery. So here's a quick little right to left. Here is a photo of our nursery, the orientation of this greenhouse here. Aesthetically, we thought it looked really nice looking east to west. Our barn is to the right of that. We'll talk a little bit about our specs on our farm in just a moment. In the center is Jerry. I put his face in there with greens. We're going to talk a little bit about our wash station situation. If you look behind him, there is our massage therapy tub that we've converted into our wash tub. And there's 2 spin drying machines that are actually refabricated top loading washing machines, Spinderella to spin dry our greens before we package them. And then the photo on the left is the proper orientation of what a greenhouse should be on our farm, north to west. So it's kind of a growth from right to left here. So some more infrastructure, land and building tips. When building, you want to really try to make sure that you're working with quality materials. Look out for deals in regards to things that you could buy at the store before you go to purchase them. Looking out for days like the Labor Day sales is a really good time to go in and get things. Work with what you can find and you have on hand already to save money. Talk to local builders at construction sites. A lot of time, things of quality that you can use on your farm are just getting tossed because they don't want to move it after the project is done. So you taking it off their hands is doing them a favor. Keep your eyes peeled for really good finds on the side of the road. Refurbishing and polishing up items that are headed to the trash can be really useful. We talked about our wash station, for example, and how most of it is roadside finds and things found on Craigslist that would otherwise have been junkyarded or tossed out. We would find a lot of things that were cheap. So let's move on to our next little section, land and infrastructure. So we saw our little barn. Our specs for our barn are right there. We did not build our barn. We had local builders come in and build it for us. Our wash station is a overhang to the left of our barn. Our barn holds our walk-in storage cooler along with all of our packing materials, including our pre and post-harvest equipment and our field tools. The pros of having this small space is that it eliminates clutter. It's less for us to clean and maintain. And it just keeps everything close. It's pretty much the primary location of most of the things that we're using on the farm. So it's the first place to go and look for things. We would definitely recommend to create a space with flawless workflow. Be efficient and make that flow of post-harvest as easy as possible. So for example, after you're done harvesting, wash it, dry it, store it, package it accordingly. Making less space between tasks with as few steps as possible is going to be beneficial for your overall productivity. So having a field plan, especially in your formative years of your operation, is very important. Create a system that works best for you. And we found that through trial and error and research, communicating with growers in your area, a lot could be learned from that. This was a recommendation from Root Down Farms. They told us this about 7 years ago at our first NOFA conference, and it's something that stuck with us since then. And we still to this day are writing down our trials and our errors. All right. Some other tips that we would recommend for your planning system is trying to work backwards. When you know what your goal is and what you want to achieve, it's really easy to work backwards from that. When you're planning your San Marzanos, for example, you know that canning season is going to come around late August. So if you know that that seed's 80 days to maturity, no later than May 1st, so that you can get that late August harvest. When it comes to planning a farm season, your planting schedule is absolutely necessary. Winging it is not going to cut it. Some other tips in regards for planting systems is keeping those yearly journals, especially in your formative years. They're going to highlight and reference important things regarding your seeds and transplant dates, certain weather patterns, bug and pest migration, along with their arrival times, and most important, recording your trials and errors so that you can implement what you've learned into your upcoming season ahead. Knowing how much to plant is also key. I'm sure if you've already started ordering your seeds, you know the cost of seeds. And Jerry sent me a note. The cost of seeds is really increasing, so you want to make sure that we're not wasting our seeds. So knowing how much to plant is key. On our farm, we've divided our farm into certain sections to help organize. Our beds are 80 feet by 30 inches. So this is our standardized size. This allows us to have uniformity when seeding and transplanting. We know exactly what we're going to need in regards to seeding. We give ourselves allowances in regards to germination and transplant failure, but we know roundabout that 4 of those 128 cell trays is going to be adequate for our transplant needs. Some methods for improving your field efficiency. In this photo on the left is Jerry walking through our potatoes, hilling them by hand. And some nice French breakfast radishes on the right. So tips and methods to improve your field efficiency is standardize your fields. We talked about how we have our specific size for our own field. When you do this, it helps keep things organized. Knowing that all of your row cover is one size gives you the wiggle room to be able to take it from one section of the farm to any of the sections of your farm. The same can be said about irrigation. On our farm, we have 80 feet of 3 by 4 inch poly piping with 3 T's cut in along equal thirds. We use overhead risers, and this can effectively water 6 of our 80-foot beds all at once. The same can be said about our drip irrigation. This is you can cut it to your own standard size, and then you can use it multiple times over and over again at any location of your farm. Another great benefit of this is that there's less organization required at the end of the year. You're beat. You don't want to be making categories for each size of your row cover and each size of your irrigation. Skip it. Standardize it. Some other methods for field efficiency here is, these might seem simple and basic, but in the heat of the summer when chaos is really kicking, we tend to forget, work with nature, not against it. If you get a break, take it. Likely everybody is going to need it. Prioritizing your weekly planning with your weather is key. You're not going to want to be transplanting in the high heat of the day or harvesting in heavy rains, especially if you know the next day is going to be wide open skies. Happy soil makes for happy plants and happy farmers. So tend to your plants accordingly as needed. Give your plants the best life they can. This includes using row cover when needed to help get through bad weather and dealing with certain pests. We found that using row cover in early spring provides us with the ability to harvest 2 weeks earlier than normal. The task of using row cover can be somewhat annoying at times, but it really helps the plants during the shoulder seasons. Let's see here. Maintain the ground around your plants. This is meaning shallow cultivation to keep weeds at minimum. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We'll slide on down. So the goal of maintaining those weeds isn't to eliminate the weeds, but you want to just prevent their hostile takeover, and you want to prevent any spread of any airborne pathogens that could cause disease on your farm. Transplant your seedlings with care and at proper time of the day during the according moon cycle. So for example, you might choose to transplant on a day with cloud cover instead of full sun at the highest temperature of the day. You may consider checking in with the Marie Thun Biodynamic Calendar for lunar cycle and metaphysical recommendations. Reminder, this is not for everyone. It's not required. For me, I find that it helps me stay a little close to nature, and it works best for us. And there's no right or wrong. So watch the weather and become a meteorologist, keeping an eye on your 14-day outlook to get to know your weather patterns, and the history of your weather systems in your area is key. We understand that climate change is here and it is happening. So along with these hardships for everyone, especially growers, preparedness can make the difference between a successful and an unsuccessful season. All right, so some more methods in regards to our field work and some harvesting efficiency. Getting organized and staying on task. And sometimes that's easier said than done. I have executive dysfunction, so I'm very grateful that my partner does not. Setting weekly goals and deadlines can help prioritize the needs of your customers and make sure that you're working with the weather and you're also prioritizing when your customers' deadlines are. Designate and differentiate your harvest totes from your market totes and your long-term storage totes. Having separate totes for each one of these things is going to help you save time and could potentially help you avoid chaos. I didn't write it in here, but another thing that we do on our farm is that we take a little piece of masking tape and we always date and label what's inside of a bin. So if something is stacked, which is another recommendation, being able to stack them, you can read what's right in it right on the label instead of having to unstack and open up each one of your totes to determine what you've got going on in there. When you prioritize your field tasks, you can determine what can be cleaned and bunched in the field. So something as simple as taking the time to bring out all of the rubber bands that you need for the 50 bunches of beets that you have to sell to the food distributor or the caterer. If you bring those out into the field, then you know exactly how many beets you have to harvest because you're bunching them in the field. You're not bunching them at the wash station and going, I'm 3 beets short of a bunch, having to go back out. Also cleaning things like excess greens on your carrots, taking the browning leaves off of your carrots or your beets out in the field might be a better choice as opposed to doing that at your wash station. The wash station's meant for washing, not necessarily harvesting and cleaning. It could be though. Like again, we determined that every farm is going to be different. Keeping harvest logs is really important, not just for any NOFA inspection, but it's great for references to look back on when you're planning for your future seasons. It's really great to see what does good, and it will help you to determine what seeds you might use in the future, which varieties work good in your area. So more efficiency with the field. This picture is super cute. So we're going to talk about having the proper tools on your farm in correlation with what your farm's needs are. When we had that cute little backyard garden, Jerry and I were able to use the handmade dibbler that him and Gordy are standing on. It's made out with a piece of fence and Perry's ice cream popsicle molds. They have the depth that's required to plant your garlic. So we would lift it up, stomp on it, lift it up, stomp on it. Looking at it now, it's kind of silly. We have scaled up to, we'll get to that. It's a nice rolling dibbler, but we'll get to it. So having access to proper tools is really important. If you're going to be working with multiple acres, you're not going to want a stand on top dibbler. Something like that may require a tractor, might need multiple employees. And you want to keep in mind too, if you have multiple employees, have enough tools for your employees, have enough harvest baskets for your employees. Take good care of your tools, correctly sharpen them. The benefit of their full potential will drastically improve when you take the time to take care of them. Keeping all of your tools in a central location and putting them away accordingly will save time and sanity, and you're cool. Keep maintenance logs for your larger equipment on your farm. When it comes farm season, the last thing that you want to do is have to worry about the guessing work of the last oil change or filter change or any of your lubing schedule, what repairs have been done on any type of big equipment like your tractors, etc. All right, so some things that worked for us. So we have scaled up a little bit from what we used to work with. In the beginning, we were using not just those homemade tools, but just hand tools, walk behind rototiller. We've currently invested in a 33 HP tractor with a loader. We have a 3-point tiller. We have a 6-foot disc cultivation tool and a 3-point power harrow. We still use that BCS. And there's not really anything that we're, anyway. So hand tools for shallow cultivation still used on the farm. I know I'm personally still reaching for a hand tool as often as possible. walk in, we use that walk beside rolling dibbler. Jerry, make sure you put the name of the rolling dibbler in the chat. The name's Wildcat. Anyway, it's a really great dibbler. I'd recommend you checking that one out. Anyway, harvesting on our farm is done entirely by hand. We use designated harvesting totes. Recommended, use sturdy, stackable equipment, something that's not going to occupy unnecessary space. When you utilize vertical storage, you can store more. And it's really important to keep in mind that 50% of your time is going to be spent on harvesting. All right, so we're getting into a really cool other half of farming, something that falls at the wayside sometimes, as methods for improving your efficiency while you're at the market. This is a view on the left is myself with our outdoor setup with our bus, kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like when folks come to visit us at the market. And thanks, Jerry. And then on the right is a photo of Jerry and myself at our indoor setup at the Lockport Community Market. They look drastically different when we don't have the bus, but we do our best to still catching an eye. I mean, it's really easy to stand out when you have the bus. Methods for improving that efficiency. Arriving prepared and ready to sell is really, really important. I don't have it written down, but your attitude is really important. We'll get a little bit more into that when we talk about customer service, but your frame of mind that you carry in and the energy that you bring in with you into the market, your customers see that and the vendors also see that. But make sure that you have anything that you're going to need for your purchases. If you're using liner bags for your bushel baskets, for example, pre-lining your bushel baskets and putting your cherry tomatoes in so you can pull that bag out and hand the customer the bags, keep your basket is a way to keep the flow of traffic going. Pre-portioning and packaging things the day ahead of the market. We like to do mixed greens, for example. We found that packaging this off at the farm instead of at the market is saving us time at the market, but it's also retaining the quality and integrity of our product, and it keeps the flow of our customers moving. It is very important to be respectful with your customers. But with that being said, you want to find a balance when it comes to chit chat. Make sure that you're keeping it to a minimum during your peak market times so that you're keeping that flow of customers going. Your other customers are not going to lose interest in you or your product if they see you being respectful and cordial with everybody else that comes before them. But if you're talking for 15 minutes about their mom, and you have to know when to cut it off respectfully. Holding space for your customers is very important, but find that balance that works best for you. And that's, again, creating the relationship. This is a really nice photo. I just want to highlight. There's Gordon. He'll be 10 next month. That's our son. And there's Jerry in the bus, giving you another little view of what our farm stand looks like. But talking again with our customers, once you get to know your buyers, you'll build really nice relationships. Getting to know your community and who you serve not only benefits on a business level, but it can benefit on a communal and personal level. Are you having any fun? What you getting out of living? Have a nice demeanor. Try to have a good time and smile. Be yourself. Be who you are, and don't try to be anyone else. Your personality, you're weird. It's actually a good thing. Customers who support you weekly are really important. So it's definitely nice to take the time to hold space for them, get to know their names, remember the things that they like to purchase from you. All right, standing out at the market. We display ourselves on, or we pride ourselves on our displays. We find that colorful displays built at height is a built-in win. So stack your product to look as bountiful as possible. Signage is key. Display your prices easily so that folks can see them from a distance. If they're walking by and they're able to read your varieties, what you have in the price, a social anxious person like myself finds that a lot more approachable. Indicate your prices or sales, packages, labels, branding, logos, all of these things can set you apart. Your stand presentation, you want to make sure that it's clean and tidy. You know, it is important to draw the eye in. We are farmers. We ourselves are not, I myself am not always clean and tidy, but my stand will be. All right, so some ways that you could stand out at market. I'm not sure if this is gonna work, so I'm gonna try. Oh, it's not gonna let me. Anyway, I had this nice little video. What I'll do with our tech support is I'm gonna try to send them a copy of our presentation. So anybody who wants to watch this later, I did have these little live videos that give examples of our stand at market. So hopefully we'll get to show you those later. But what you're going to want to do to stand out at market, most importantly, is have a good product. Quality is key. So when you're harvesting, make sure that what you're harvesting is quality. You only want to bring what's best to the market, and you want to give your chefs and your distributors and your caterers your best. Folks tend to remember that one time that they got a funky leaf versus the 15 times that they had perfection. But along with that high quality product, you want to make sure that your prices retain fair. You want to be genuine and respectful to your customers. That cool stand and that nice packaging and that eye-catching logo are definitely important. But if you don't have a quality product that people can rely on and is something that they trust week in and week out, you sold a product once. So make sure that you can back up what's in that package. Give the customers what they want. See what customers are coming back for each week and communicate with other vendors. I would also say shop at markets. Go to other farmers markets as a consumer. See what other people are selling and talk with your consumers and your vendors. Moving on. So some other things that worked for us, you guys got to see right off the bat our first farm market stand. So here's another little visual of it. That farm market stand was a wooden shed that was built on a tow behind trailer. Jerry actually would drive this to the market in his pickup truck. We did convert to having just a bus, but there was a season where Jerry was attending the Clarence market in the trailer, and I was attending the Lockport Community Market in the bus. So we had converted a 2002 mini school bus into our market mobile. This was purchased from a local school district. It's really easy to stand out when you're in a lime green bus, especially when there's tons of local or beautiful rainbow produce inside of it. But we still like to do nice little touches like using the tablecloths, busting out flowers, and we did work on a logo. I pretty much came up with our logo idea, but hey, you guys are here for the beginning half of this class and you realize that during the presentation, I'm not tech savvy. So reaching out to a art student, she had took care of the tech end to make a JPEG of our logo for us. So if that's something you want to do with yourself, maybe reach out to art students. So other ways that you could stand out, what we do is weekly we add a different vegetable related joke to reflect our harvest and fold out chalkboard. We have found that it draws attention to not just adults, but kids too. I've observed at the market that if a child is leading their parent in a direction, even if that parent doesn't want to go, that's where they're going to go. If their child heads north, they're following them. So if you have a really cool stand that's bright and vibrant and welcoming, and each week you have something funny, oh, I really wish I could share that one with you. The joke in it is, how do you fix a split tomato? And it's tomato paste. So we pride ourselves in our vibrant displays at market. Apart from our quality product and our eye-catching stand, ultimately something that I think really helps us stand out is just being ourselves. Our weird personalities are really hard to water down, and I wouldn't recommend them. Thank you. We do a different joke every single week. And if you follow our Instagram, you can find in our reels all of the jokes that I had for the season, and I invite you to borrow them. We've also found that diversity in advertising is it's equally as important as diversity in your fields. Free social media advertisements can be great on multiple platforms. They offer really easy to make reels and videos to make eye-catching ads. It really doesn't take a lot of time. If you have just a quick minute to snap a couple things at market the day of and throw it out into social media land, you might have customers that you otherwise wouldn't have. So it's nice to broaden your audience. And when it's free, I mean, utilize any type of free advertisement that you can. Just don't let this occupy too much of your time. So One really cool thing that I really love about our farm and take so much pride in is we host a community event. We've done this twice. So we've had two different Harvest Moon Hootenannies. What we do for our Harvest Moon Hootenanny is we throw on a big celebration. It's a commencement of a really good harvest season. We invite 20 plus local vendors. It's kind of like a wild farmers market bazaar. A local band comes and plays. We have local restaurants, primarily ones who purchase with us, but others are welcome as well. They're showcasing their fare using the local products that they get. We also had local wine, beer, and hard cider producers come. This is a really great way to form community. So this is definitely not a profitable event for us financially, but there's so much gained in regards to building relationships, building memories. People remember us. And yes, this is the Hootenanny on the farm here. So I had made our logo. A lot of people loved, again, that eye-catching logo. If you look into it, I really put a lot of thought into it. There's a crescent moon there. We have, in that very first slide, you saw our crescent moon. It's a paper moon inspired, vintage paper moon inspired photo booth. And the way that we have it placed on the farm is directly in front of the local roots bus. So everybody getting their photos in that moon also has local roots farm right up in the corner. So it's a little bit of free marketing, free advertising, but it's also memory making and it's fun. You get to spend time with your community. It's a nice party. Anyway, so some tips for starting a CSA and selling wholesale. On the left here is a photo of me in the bus with our close friend Lindsay there. And then to the right is one of our food distributors. This is actually a photo from Fresh Fix, Western New York. This is just showcasing a couple of products that we had sold to them that day. It was awesome how they unfolded our box. So we're going to talk about some tips with working with these folks. Each one of the boxes that we use when we send out, we stamp our logo on with a hand stamp. So how do you get your customers to sign up and commit? A membership can be intimidating at first, and there's even folks still who are not sure what a CSA is. So having time to inform potential customers and be a teacher can make or break somebody committing to your farm. Tips that we found to be helpful is sending out mailers to your local post office. Make a flyer and send them to households in your neighboring areas. Hosting a farm to table meal at a local establishment. We did this with Singer Farm Naturals. We called it Good Food Nights. We met a lot of people in our neighborhood that we otherwise wouldn't have known was there. Utilize those free advertising on the social media outlets. Joining groups online to advertise your farm is also really great. You can also advertise your products and any markets that you're attending and serving. Again, the key is to widen your audience and taking advantage of those free, accessible outlets that we have. Get it. Don't overexert yourself, however. It's really easy, especially in your formative years, to say yes to everything that comes across your way. So make sure that you don't let your excitement derail you. Don't promise your customers more than you can provide. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Be transparent and don't sell pipe dreams to your customers. Another thing that I would say is don't compare yourself to other CSAs and farmers, especially on those social medias. It's really easy to make things look rosy with filters. Use this technology as a tool, but don't let it consume your time or your confidence. Some tips for a great CSA share. On the right, we have two examples of previous CSA shares that we've offered in the past. We tried to mix it up so people are getting a nice arrangement. So we like to offer things that we know people are definitely going to eat, things that they're familiar with. And we're trying to not overload our customers on less conventional items. When we do give them things that they're not sure what they are or what to do with, we're offering them with tips, storage recommendations, and even recipes at times so that they can explore not just with foods, but with cooking at home. Providing variety is also key. Balancing each share on your availability with multiple varieties of the same crop is a great way to stretch out your shares. Having a variety of different cherry tomatoes or even summer squash, for example, is cool. You could do that even with garlic if you wanted to. Adding a community added products is a great way to have one less thing to harvest for your share. And on CSA day, there's nothing better than finding out there's one less thing you gotta harvest. And not just that, it can also create really nice future business endeavors with partners in your community. So we had mentioned that flyer that you could send out to through your post office. This is an example of a flyer that we made for 2001 for our CSA. We did actually bring in a few new CSA members with this flyer that would have otherwise not even known that there was a farm down the street from them. So we're offering 20 weeks of rotating produce starting in June. We experimented with full and half size shares. We did full season shares and half shares. We experimented with picking up on the farm and at market. Our first year, we did a market style presentation where folks were loading up their bags their own. And then when COVID hit, we were doing pre-bagged shares. Post-COVID, we liked that. So people could grab and go, and we continued with that. We would also incorporate local products outside of, we would offer local products outside of the farm to support our community and to alleviate stress on our end. We would only do 40 members because it was just Jerry and myself doing this. So it was literally an acre and a quarter a person. Alternatives that worked for us in place of a CSA, we actually no longer offer a CSA. Balancing out what has worked for us and what doesn't work for us, this alternative suits us better. So what we do is we actually have a physical membership card that people can use online or in person at the market. The price points are $250 and $500. So this is helping support our farm in the off season the exact same way that the CSA has in the past. This also is offering our members more flexibility and less commitment. We give our customers the option to choose when they use their card. So again, it's either going to be in person or on our online store. They have their own freedom to build their own shares. So there's no prepackaged identical shares anymore. We've eliminated that contract, and we've also eliminated the commitment to be there at an exact time every week. This gives that customer more choice. There's also a lot less waste involved when your customer's choosing on their own. They're not winding up with things that they know they're not going to use. Like I had a customer who couldn't stand kohlrabi and roll his eyes. Kohlrabi's great. But when a customer gets to choose, there's less things going to waste. And if somebody's going out of town, for example, they don't need to find somebody to come and pick up for them. So there's a lot less stress on our growers and a little bit wiggle room for our harvests. Other ways that we're picking up the slack from our CSA financially is we offer added value products. I make small batch handmade granola utilizing local honey from bees that live on our farm. We have beekeepers that keep bees on our farm. And we get a nice amount of beeswax and honey from them at a wholesale price. And we make salves with we make salves with the beeswax, along with herbs that are grown and foraged on the farm. So those are some other avenues of sales. I also have been experimenting with body oils that are similar to the salves, and we do some tinctures. We've done tinctures in the past as well. We've been offering pre-order starter plants utilizing our greenhouse license. So these are some other ways, again, that we're offsetting the costs without the CSA. So selling wholesale to restaurants, caterers, and food distribution can be really satisfying and gratifying, especially when chefs are excited to use your produce and they're proudly displaying your farm's name on their menu. Learn what items your buyers want and what they're purchasing cheaply with bigger food hubs. We found that we make a better profit example on our potatoes and our onions in selling them in smaller quantities as opposed to selling them wholesale, because our chefs can get them at a cheaper price. Learning what those specialty items that the chefs want is really key too, because you can build long-term relationships, and if you add them into your planning and your harvesting. Some specialty crops that we sell to our chefs with them in mind is our greens, our salad mixes, kale, cherry tomatoes, beets, specialty peppers, and greenhouse cucumbers. Creating that schedule with your chefs is really key. Get to know their establishments, the days that they're open, and really work with their schedule. Selling wholesale to our restaurants and our food distribution. So there's some considerations you want to keep in mind is that you might not always feel that the pricing for your product is as high as you would like, but you remember that the main goal here is that we're trying to move large quantities of perishable food at once. Keep your packaging in mind. You saw how we like that nice little stamp logo so that our food distributors know that who we are. Having something as simple as the right size box can really set you apart. Diversity in marketing is just as important as diversity in planting. So having a variety of different outlets and sales avenues can help in rebounding any type of loss or failure in a sale. So what you could do to help to make your business and your lifestyle work for you is trial and error. Determine what's going to work best for you by trying. So try again until you find that balance that suits you best. This might include saying no to opportunities that you might really want to. Don't give up. Remember that as you keep going, you're going to grow. Nobody's perfect. And the longer you do something, the better you're going to get at it. Take time for you and your family. Plan ahead so that you can take time off the farm. All work and no play will not make you want to stay in your fields. So take breaks for water, meals, and rest. Don't feel bad for resting. Take a break from the heat and the sun and overworking. Take care of yourself just as equal as you take care of the land that you tend and to the customers that you provide to. Making sure that burnout doesn't creep up on you and convince you that you hate your farm is really important. You don't hate your farm, you just need a break. So some tips and advice is find and use the resources available to you to help farmers and small businesses. NOFA New York, Cornell Co-op. There's a ton of useful information that you can get just from the NOFA website and this app for the conference, for example. It's just a hub of information. Utilize YouTube, use the internet as a tool, join groups online and social media, form a community. It can be online or in person. Ask questions, reach out, and gain information. By obtaining a solid collection of physical resources, by building a library of books in your off season, you could take that time in the winter to read and retain information to apply to your upcoming seasons. Conferences like this are a really great way to learn tips and advice and make really great connections. One thing I would definitely recommend is find quality and professional vendors to work with. Not just what we have listed here for some really great resources of who we work with, but when you decide you want to partner with a business in your community, remember to keep your reputation in mind and make sure that it's somebody who's professional and in line with your morals and like-mindedness. Oh, I'm so sad that our in conclusion isn't going to work, but it's pitter patter. Let's get at her. In closing, we want to definitely make sure that we want to thank everybody. Scaling up can help you meet your farm goals and your business goals. But we want to definitely make sure that we're saying thank you to NOFA. Thank you to every single one of you that has decided to join us. Thank you all for your patience at the beginning of our presentation as we stumble on our tech. But yes, thank you very much. If there's any questions at this point, I would love, you can raise a hand, maybe pop off your mic. And if there's something that comes to you later, if you go underneath presenters, you can see that we have links for our social media. We have links for our website and our email. If you have a question pertaining to just Jerry, you can direct it to him. If it's a question pertaining to me, you could definitely direct it that way as well too. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to check our chat here. We became certified pretty, I'm seeing Shauna. Hi, Shauna, thank you. We became certified organic in, Jerry, was it 2019? Still waiting for him. I'm going to scroll up to see, catch up on our chat here, because while I was yakking away, I didn't get to see. All right. What is the motivation for a customer to choose a membership versus just ordering? A lot of our customers really value supporting our farm in the off season. It's gratifying to them knowing that they have a hand in helping us obtain our seeds and offsetting the costs of our offsetting our costs to our upcoming season's finances. So customers are motivated in that aspect. On a material end, they get to obtain a really cool physical gift card. And on that individual gift card, they have their own number. And it is displaying some really cool local art from a local artist. It is unique to our farm, and only farm members have it. I personally have been exploring this as well. I just today sold a farm membership to a customer, and we were saying, so are there any perks involved? And I said, well, what perks do you want involved? I'll try it. Well, let's get our thinking caps going. Let's see here. Is it convenient for customers? Oh, there's Jerry. All right. Have you sold through local farm marketplace platform? Do you use Squarespace for your sales at the farmers market? We do use Square at our farmers market. We have a Square reader. Through local farm marketplace. I don't think I'm familiar with local farm marketplace, but we are pretty much direct sales. We've done the Lockport Community Market, Clarence Market, Pendleton Market. We briefly did Wilson, New York Market. We use our online store. Jerry, you want to back me up? That's GoDaddy, or is it Squarespace for our online store support? Nothing. Cool. So while we have a moment here, I'm going to see if I can squeeze backtrack just a quick sec.
Christy, I'm not sure if you see, but Richard has a hand up.
How do I do that? Hi, Richard.
I think if you just unmute yourself, Richard, you can ask your question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, really interesting presentation. Thank you very much. An extraordinary amount of information.
Thank you.
I don't know how you kept it all organized, although I saw that a lot of it was written down. Good for you. Questions about labor and when to hire. And one thing that I've heard, I run a small farm. I just do it myself. I haven't hired employees. One thing I've heard from not a lot, but a good handful of farmers who have employees is that the farmers' hourly is uniformly less than what they're paying their labor. I wonder if that's true for you. And if it is, why hire labor? What's the motivation for you, if not financial? Thanks.
Thanks, Richard. I found, so we don't have too much experience with having employees. This year we hired on 2 younger folks, Lily and Nick. They were part-time on our farm. And I found that their presence on the farm helped the productivity. They're doing tasks that I otherwise didn't quite want to do. I'm not a fan of thinning carrots, kind of breaks my heart. So that was an opportunity where we were able to, delegate tasks that otherwise could free up time for us. And not just so that we could do more tasks on the farm, but so that we could spend time with our son, or we could spend time with family, or take that time to exercise, rest. Hi, Laura. You want to pop on? I would love it.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, so Christy and I know each other slightly. We both are farmers in Western New York. I started farming in 2015. So, Christy and I are in, relatively similar points in our farming careers.
We've vended together.
Yes. Anyways, so we started really having employees on my farm. I farm with my husband in 2020. And for us, this was a really important point of getting to a point where we're making a living. And, our employees, we are paying like $15 an hour.
Mhm.
which honestly at this point probably is not a competitive wage.
Yeah.
And
That's exactly what we were doing as well, Laura. 15, yeah.
anyways, and when you look at the hours that my husband and I work, we are definitely not making $15 an hour, but
Yeah.
but because having employees just means that you're not duplicate. There's so many things that need to get done on a farm, and some of which, the bigger you are, the more labor you need. Like, the more cherry tomatoes you grow, the more people you need to grow to do them. But there's other
Mhm.
things that as you grow and have employees doing things, it doesn't take more labor. It doesn't really take more labor necessarily to run a CSA pickup for 60 people rather than 40 people.
Yes.
And so, the employees are doing the things, you are doing the things that only you can do, or you really prefer that you do, whereas the employees are
Mhm.
doing those other tasks that
Bagging the
allow you to.
lettuce where I
So
can,
anyways, although you are paying
seed.
those employees more than you are making, they're allowing, there to be efficiency in parts of the operation that can help you make a living, even if you aren't at an hourly amount making as much as they are, because overall,
Mhm.
we are still like, I struggling to articulate it right, but it just allowing our farm to scale up, even
Mhm.
if we are getting a smaller piece of that pie, that much larger pie that we're getting that smaller piece of is better for us economically than that smaller pie that we are getting like all of. And I mean, I'm not talking about a huge scale. We're farming less than 1.5 acres. We have, about 80 hours at peak season, 80 hours a week, peak season of hired labor. My husband and I, between the two of us, are doing 130 to 160 hours of labor. So we're still doing a majority of the labor on the farm, but we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do it and make a living at it without our employees the way that we farm. Anyways, I hope I got around to saying it in a way that might make some sense to you, Richard.
No, it's perfect. I'm going to mute so Jerry can hop on real quick.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So on the labor, typically when we have heavy harvest of things, so when garlic comes in or onions or potatoes, things that require a lot of things to be harvested at once is really when we need to be bringing people in. It's not so much in the shoulder seasons where Christy and I can handle that for the most part. But a lot of the heavier times of season when we're bringing in a lot of things is when we need the help. As far as the employees making more than us per hour, I really don't look at our labor per hour. It's more or less per week. So it's tough for me to see the numbers per hour as opposed to weekly, if that makes sense. The other thing that employees are nice to have around for is transplanting. At the beginning of the season, when you're putting a lot of transplants in the ground at once, it's really helpful to have extra set of hands around. So with that, I'll toss it back to Christy.
Yeah. Is there any other additional questions? Anybody's got any questions pertaining to maybe the farmer's market or direct sales? And if there's something that comes to you later, like I said, you can always find our information underneath the presenters. And I definitely, please, I encourage you, check out our goofy little Instagram so you can see those videos that didn't work. I'll post them up today, and they're fun.
I have
They're
another
definitely, they're not as cool as the Onion song from the Seed Savers party last night, but still pretty good. So let me check our chat here.
If you have a minute, I have another question, Kristen.
Absolutely. Yeah, what do you got, Richard?
So for people who are thinking of scaling up from being serious home gardeners, homesteaders maybe, to market gardeners, where do you think the easiest entrance is? Is it restaurants? Is it farmers markets? Is it CSAs? Is it pickup retail? What if you want to stick more than just a toe, but maybe not the whole body in the water? Where do you think
Yeah. what we did was we did farmers markets, but for everybody and what their operation is, what their resources they readily have available to them, what markets they have available to them, and where they're located. All of these things are going to be considered. If the nearby or if the closest market to you is an hour and 45 minutes away, that might not be the perfect place to experiment. You might want to check in with the restaurant that's 5 minutes up the way before you commit to that almost 2-hour one-way round trip to that market. For us, all of our markets are less than 30 minutes one way for us. So it was no problem for us to make that commitment to be there every Saturday. And that was really how we tested the waters. We were just bringing, the extra abundance of what we were finding in our gardens, like massive zucchinis. And I didn't put the slide on there. I wish I did. I'm sorry, Jerry, the okra. We did a okra did not work in our garden. We might try it again sometime. But that's where it's really important to keep in mind what your people want to buy, what your consumers are looking for. But yeah, for us, it was the farmer's market. Direct sales could be a really great option too. If you know people in your area are looking for a CSA and there isn't one nearby, maybe see what you could offer them. Start small. Our first CSA, we've never ever taken on more than 40. And that was comfortable for Jerry and I. That's essentially 20 people per person to take care of. And when you look at it that way, that's still a lot of people. That's 20 families you have to feed per person. So definitely don't bite off more than you can chew, I would say. And with all those factors we already discussed, determine what's going to work best for your situation. Oh, and one thing I want to mention about farmers markets too, we talked about our accessibility at the beginning, where I had mentioned like, oh, we take FMMP and we use the Fresh Connects checks. When you're checking out and scoping out your farmers market, sit and meet with your farmers market manager. And I found that it's really beneficial if that market manager's got those forms ready for you to get those programs going. That's a good thing. I am going to mute myself because Jerry wants to talk.
Yeah, I just want to add that, Richard, if you're looking to get into something where you can sell to customers, I think farmers markets are definitely the easiest avenue to get into, especially if you have them close by, but I would investigate them before signing up for one. So maybe go and talk to the market manager, just see what other kind of farms are at that market. You don't want to start selling at a market with 50 other farms there that are bringing in stuff from, another part of the country or something. You might want to start at a smaller market with local farmers that are growing their own stuff. And then specialize in something, right? So don't try and grow every single thing under the sun and bring it all to market. But if you can specialize in one thing and really get your customers hooked on that so they keep coming back to you every week, I found that is a recipe for success for us, at least.
I'm just going to unmute to answer the question in the chat. I am not the quickest typer. So FMMP is the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and this is beneficial to women and children. It is similar to like EBT. Thank you, Laura. Just giving me them answers. I love it. But yeah, a market that offers accessibility, like things like the Fresh Connect checks, is definitely something I would recommend it to check out. Laura also popped in too. Attend that market, go visit it and shop before you commit to it, because a bad farmer's market's a total waste of time. You don't want your produce to go bad, but you also don't want to waste your time when you otherwise could be spending it with your loved ones or taking care of something that requires your time on the farm. And a good farmer's market manager should have those forms ready and available for you if you choose to participate in those programs. So when you're scoping out your markets, definitely meet with your manager, make sure that they're engaged and involved, and shop that market. Get to know the other vendors, and forming a community really is become beneficial. The Lockport Community Market, for example, is like a family for us. And I would recommend finding something that feels good and feels right and welcoming for you. Yeah, thank you guys so much. If there's anybody with any other additional questions, how expensive is it to have a square to sell? It's going to be different from each market that you're attending. We've attended markets where there was no fee in the beginning, like Wilson. If there's a newer market, 2% of your sales. So there's your answer for Lockport, Jerry. Anyway, like I said, each market is going to probably cost a little different to attend. How do we get a transcript of the talk? Jerry has a PDF that he has, not the presentation. The talk itself that Jerry had written up, the presentation was based off of the talk. If you go underneath presentation, there should be a link for the PDF. Anybody who would like it though, if for whatever reason there's any tech issues, these things do happen. If you email either one of us, we can send it to you.
Yeah, it is available on the conference website.
Awesome. Thank
you
you,
just
Sam.
navigate over to the presentation.
Awesome.
I'm also going to, as you guys are wrapping up, just put a link to a survey in the chat. And if anyone would please take a little bit of time to just fill out an evaluation about the presentation, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. Nofa, thank you. Thank you everybody who stayed with us. And most importantly, thank you for your patience with our technological stutters.
Yes. Thank you so much, Christy and Jerry. This has been a very informative, very well organized presentation. So
Thank you. We tried.
Thank
yeah,
you both
it
so
was
much.
great.
Thank you, everybody.